Thanks for joining us on day 2 for me of Verge. I'm Heather Clancy, and I'm a senior writer with GreenBiz, and I am so honored and pleased to have Trisa Thompson, the Vice President of Corporate Responsibility from Dell, with me today. And one of the reasons I'm so interested and excited about this interview is that when I first started covering sort of the technology's role in sustainability about 7 years ago, Dell was one of the first companies that I kept going to for cool stuff. They were doing many innovative things. They were setting commitments that were far greater than many of their peers. They were continuing to push the envelope with different achievements and commitments for the industry in general. So what I'd like to do this morning is talk about where they're going. I can enumerate many achievements. There's several I want to point to because we're going to go to them later, but committing to cut PC energy usage by 30%, which they did, collecting more than 1 billion pounds of electronic waste, which they've done since 2008, doubling the number of Dell facilities that are using 100% renewable energy to the point you're hearing about earlier with Lisa Jackson, from 7 to 16. So 16 buildings, 16 facilities of Dell are 100% renewable, and I'm sure she'll address a little bit that in the remarks to come. But I think the big elephant in the room right now, of course, is, wow, Dell, they've had this big corporate shift going on. They're going private. What does that mean? Now that they're not going to be public, are they going to be as committed to these things that the public world really cares about? And so that's the first question I'd like to put to you. You're going private. What does that mean for your strategy, for the road forward?
No, it's a great question, and I'm sure if anyone's been sort of following us in the press, there's a little battle this year between a couple of big guys out there for the company. And in September, we were very fortunate in our view that Michael actually is the new to-be owner of the company, along with some other investors. And so people internally and externally have been asking us that question, what does that mean for corporate responsibility? And really what it means is it's still one of our core values. Corporate responsibility isn't changing both as a company core value, but it's also our founders' core value. And so that's not going to change. If anything, I think you're going to see more. We launched yesterday our 2020 long-term goals. One thing nice about being private, it gives you that longer window of time you can really look at. And obviously, when this was approved by Michael and his direct reports, they knew where we were heading and hoping, obviously, that we were going to be going private under Michael. So that all stays the same. But the other real core driver of sustainability, and there's a lot of CSOs in this room, are your customers. And our customers are asking more and more from us. And if you look at over the last 5 years, we looked at our RFPs, and the number of requests we get from customers on sustainability has more than doubled in the last 5 years. And not only has it doubled, but they're going deeper. They're asking much deeper questions than they used to it used to be, are you EP, check. Now they're asking things like, what is your sustainability going to do for our roadmap? So it's really deepened pretty significantly.
Yeah, and you've been experimenting with materials too, the packaging, the compostable packaging, the bamboo packaging, the mushroom packaging. So that's all things that they're not asking for, but that you're kind of driving forward.
Actually, you know what? They are asking.
Yeah, okay.
So it's really, that was interesting when I stepped into the role 3 years ago.
And actually, could you explain for the audience what I'm talking
about?
Yeah,
I will. I was going to go into a little more detail. So you'll see one of our big goals is to be zero waste packaging by 2020. And we've been on that trajectory for a long time now. So we started with renewable packaging of bamboo. And so you can see if you get a notebook, a Dell notebook, it is packaged in bamboo today. But the
grown right where it's
grown in China, shipped from China. It grows an inch an hour. So highly rapid renewable. It's a great product. The pandas are not there, so don't worry, we're not in the panda territory. We get asked that a lot. So it's a great product, but customers said to us that, that's really nice, but so when are we going to see our servers packaged in bamboo? And the answer is you're never going to see the server packaged in bamboo because it's not the material that's sturdy enough. And so for our quality on delivery, we want to make sure your server works when it arrives. So we started looking at other materials, and one we experimented with, and we're in pilot phase right now, is mushroom packaging. And mushroom packaging, I'm not going to go into detail how it's made, but it's a very dense packaging material. And that we are actually using on servers today. And then the one we just started is wheat straw. And that's also coming out of China. We're the first company to really look at that as a packaging source. Today in China, as you can imagine, they are a huge producer of wheat to feed the country. And what they do with the agricultural waste today is they burn that.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is we're working with a company, instead of having that burned and having bad emissions go out, take that, turn it into packaging, and we're in the middle of the pilot for that right now. So it's exciting. I know every time I eat something, like if you eat a banana, you know, you see a banana out there, I'm like, I wonder if you can package that. We can turn that into something renewable.
So I want to point to the subtitle, the subtext on your plan, the 10 by 20, a legacy of good. That is the plan that Dell released yesterday. There are actually 21, I believe is the right number,
right.
And very aspirational goals. There's a whole slew of them. We obviously don't have enough time to discuss all of them today, but one of the ones that intrigued me as a technology journalist was this one. Reduce the energy intensity of our portfolio by 80%, 80%. Why is that important? Why is that an important thing for you to do, and why should the industry be pushing you on that, pushing you to go even farther?
No, that's a great question, and it's, I'm going to start with why it's important for the industry to think about energy intensity.
And what does that mean?
And energy efficiency. So I think everybody knows we are using more and more technology, both individually, whether it's data streaming that we're doing, or just more users globally of technology. And as we do that, obviously the energy impact on the world goes up. So it's incumbent upon our industry to really focus on how do we make the products more efficient. And it's not just Dell that's doing this. I think the entire industry has really started focusing on making everything we do more energy efficient. We need to continue to drive that direction. For us, it's also important, though, when we put out the number for our customers. So our customers can look at our product roadmap and the energy intensity, where we're going of the total portfolio, and they can do their OpEx. We just heard a lot about OpEx and CapEx from Mike Lucky. They can do their planning around that, and they can also make sure that they know where their technology portfolio is, but they can also map it to their own sustainability portfolio, where they want to go.
Where'd that number come from? I mean, why 80%?
So 80%, if you look at where we believe technology will go, and by the way, I'm hoping we beat 80%, we think that that's a number we can achieve by 2020, and we had a lot of our engineers, and by the way, this is across our notebooks, this is our storage, this is our servers. We had to talk to all the engineers across the entire company to find the right number. We'll probably make more progress on servers than we're going to make on notebooks. If you look at a tablet today, it's actually pretty darn efficient.
Right.
So it's going to be harder to get more and more out of that tablet. So there's more space over on the storage and server side, and so that's where we're really going to kind of focus. But across the portfolio, we're going to shoot for 80%.
Right, okay. So another really very intriguing goal that's in this report, and I encourage you to all go and download it. It's very long, but very inspirational, and very aspirational as well. And this is probably the most intriguing one of all for me. You have declared that you are committing to be, there should be 10 times as much good created by Dell's technology as what it takes to create it. 10 times as much good created by your technology as the footprint you're leaving behind, essentially. We must not reduce our footprint, but leave a footprint, a positive, measurable, and lasting footprint, a legacy of good. Okay, so what does that goal mean, Trisa? And how on earth are you going to measure that sort of thing?
So it's very interesting. We published our goals yesterday, and we've been having conversations with people about this specific goal, especially. We call it the 10 by 20 plan. And I always find fascinating is we have about half the people saying it's not ambitious enough, and half of them saying it's way too big. So I think we landed the ship pretty accurately. And I think there's a lot of CSOs I know in this room. You do know that no good deed goes unpunished. So if you're going to set a high bar, you're going to pay for it sometimes in the press. So this one has been really interesting, as it's more controversial than I had sort of anticipated. We think it's a high bar. We think that this is a very ambitious goal. And let me explain a little bit about what it means. I guess that's probably the starting point, and then I'll talk to you about how we're going to measure it. So what it means to us is saying, and we're good at this piece, by the way, what is our footprint? So what is our facilities? What is that footprint? What is the life cycle impact of our products? So not just start with the manufacturing all the way to the use from the customer end of life. So we have to measure all that, and we're pretty good at that piece. Where we think we need to work with the industry and others is really on the next piece, which is measuring the net sustainability impact of the products and solutions. And I'll give you an example of what that is. So if you take electronic medical records, this is a good example because it's pretty easy to understand. What the customer is asking you for is to take their records, digitize them, and they want to deliver better customer outcomes at the end of the day. But what they're getting on top of that, and we worked with a couple hospitals and they're starting to measure this, is a sustainability impact that's been very positive. So they not only have the dematerialization of there's not the paper use anymore, but the surprising measurement that I think really got to everybody was they didn't realize how much transportation that would take off the grid. So I don't know about anyone else, but I've had to drive more medical records around. I have to go pick up my image here, and then I drive it to a different doctor. All that's not happening anymore. And hospitals aren't exchanging documents with doctors and pediatricians. So that has come off the grid. So how do we measure that? And that's just one example that we're talking about. Another one, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess the thing I'm going to say is that clearly isn't something that's in just Dell's control, right? So you've set this goal that clearly relies on other organizations, relies on your customers, relies on probably partners, other technology partners, and so forth. So is this a very collaborative goal that you're setting out there?
Yeah, I think one of the themes you've seen at this whole conference is collaboration, and this is a highly collaborative goal. So we are going to have to work with our customers, and we've already started meeting, by the way, with customers, but we're also meeting with our industry and our competitors, because this is somewhere the entire industry needs to help move this needle. And by the way, Dell is not the first. We're helping advance this ball. There are other companies. We've talked to BT is working on this, AT&T is working on this, and we've had conversations with all of them. So we're all advancing this movement forward and really looking at how solutions and technology are really going to make a difference. So some solutions will be directly trying to work on sustainability, things like smart grids, smarter traffic, and then there'll be others like electronic medical records where that's not the primary goal, but it will be a significant benefit that also comes with that.
I'd like to go to the sidebar, see if they have any questions from the audience, either online or here in the room. Mo?
Yeah, we have one question, I think, in relation to the fact that the goals were just released yesterday. There's a question from online about what learnings you had from the last round of goals and how that's influenced this new set.
It's a great question. A lot of learnings from the last round of goals. One is engineers are cautious. That is a very big learning. They are uncomfortable when you put something that's a little far out, but they'll say, you know, when we're trying to do the 2020, we don't even know what products will be in existence in that time frame. And we're like, that's okay. They're not going to punish us for putting out this goal. But if you don't set the bar somewhere, we're never going to have something to march towards. So it was really interesting getting some of the more conservative parts of the company to get comfortable with setting a long-term goal.
And that's a great segue into this other issue that's really big for the people in the room. Lisa alluded to it earlier, that sort of engagement, you know, how you engage the employees in your company down to every single level, not just the engineers, but everyone across the company. And how do you make this sort of part of the culture? So, you know, how do you convince those engineers or whoever, the other conservative elements, that this is something that's got to be part of the DNA of the company? What things are you doing there to help with the engagement?
So we really focus on employee engagement actually quite a bit at Dell, and we've set a big target for that for 2020. And this is not just around sustainability, by the way. This includes how we impact our communities at large around the world. We have 110,000 employees. And so we have a goal of 75% of our employees by 2020 volunteering in their communities, a cumulative total of 5 million hours. And to give you a little context for that, last year our employees worked over 700,000 hours volunteering in their communities, and we have 56% engagement. So we think we can get there, but part of that trick is what you were just saying, is how do you create that culture? So we want to make sure it's volunteer, not voluntold. And so you have to put incentives out there, and we have different incentives. So if you volunteer 10 hours in any given quarter, we'll give you a $150 cause card you can give to the charity of your choice. So we have different incentives for employees to get engaged in volunteering. But you know what? It hasn't really been hard. We have amazing team members that come up with some amazing ideas. One that just, innovation was a byproduct from our employees I didn't expect. One is a solar-powered classroom that we just launched in Nigeria.
Right. So what is it doing? I mean, who's it addressing?
So they noticed that in a lot of communities there, they don't have electricity even in the schools, and it's much less technology. So they came to me and they said, we want to create this solar-powered classroom. And we just bought a company within the last 2 years called Wise, and they have this amazingly efficient thin clients, right? So they use the thin clients in this classroom, and it's basically like a container, ship container, if you picture that, with classroom built into it. And it's entirely solar powered, and because it doesn't take that much energy to run the thin clients. So it's really been amazing. We're going to launch another one in South Africa this year.
And that's a business opportunity for you as well as a...
It's a huge business opportunity, absolutely.
There you go. So good and good business at the same time.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're getting the hook, folks. Thank you very much. Please thank Trisa for joining us this morning, and I'm sure you can accost her and tell her how you can help Dell meet that goal. She'll be around.
Love that.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.